In the previous video we had quite a bit to get through, so rather than dwell any further, because I think the video was running at about 30 minutes in length and I think that's enough for anybody, we're just going to pop back here and offer a suggestion, but then we're going to make and apply a slide style from what we've created here. In the example I created here, I didn't leave a great deal of my background on view, but that may not be always the case with other pieces of work which are similar to this, but maybe the inset images are not so large. So I'd like to offer just a suggestion here. As you can see, I've got just one of my images selected at the top of the screen. If we have just a little memory jogger here, at the first keyframe we don't see the image. So between the first keyframe and the next keyframe, they appear on screen. Wouldn't it be nice if the background went soft at the same time? So what we can do perhaps is just to hold the control key and select the background. So we can say that from this point to this point, and I'll hit Alt Insert to clone a keyframe, we want nothing to happen to the car. So from there, the car comes on, no problem at all, but from this point to this point, and I'll hit Alt Insert again, what we could do with is that background going a little soft. Now we can do that in the animation screen, as you probably know now. Let's move this down a little bit to reveal the hidden options. A little bit of blur, and I could adjust the opacity as well, but let's just stay with blur. But of course we need it to stay blurry until we get to that point. When we get to this point, we've got the images turning around, but from that point to that point we're just viewing them. So from this point to this point where they fade out, that's where we could do with 2 keyframes for our background. So let's put the cursor in that position and Alt Insert. Let's go straight here and do the same thing there, Alt Insert. So what we've got to do here is to bring the blur back between this point and this point. So I can do that simply by double clicking. Quick recap, should be working fine. There's the image on screen, but as the 4 insets appear, the background goes soft, just helps them to be pushed out a little bit, makes them look a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for, projected better. Spinning round, nothing happening to our background, but now the background should come back sharp as they disappear, so we can view it for a few seconds before it leaves the screen. Now I've decided to line up all of the keyframes for that last little bit of animation, but we don't have to, of course. If I wanted to hold the control key and just select the last 2 keyframes of our background, which we can identify clearly, I could stagger that just to make sure that by the time the images leave the screen, we're not still looking at the background coming sharp. It comes sharp just marginally quicker, and we won't be able to tell exactly where we want these keyframes until we do a full screen preview. But as you can see, pretty easy to just select a couple of them and slide them one way or another. Now we can think about making our slide style, but we have to bear in mind that we've got 9 separate images that's going to make up this style. Obviously the 4 insets and the other 4 when these 4 spin around. We've also got 1 which is going to form the background for us. Now we need to number these and give them a main object number in Pictures2Exe Objects and Animation screen to make sure when we apply the slide style to 9 other images, it works as we've created it here, but with new images. Now to make sure we know where the background is going to be, so we can select the images in the right order, I'm going to select the background here. I'm going to go up to the main object here and I'm going to tick the box, and this one is going to be numbered number 1. Now I'm going to work through the remainder of the images, starting with top left, which is going to come up as number 2. If you get mixed up with any of these, click the button and you can adjust it to apply the correct number. So I'm going to make this one number 3, then this one number 4, and this one number 5. So number 1 is our background, and then the first 4 we apply in the slide list. You'll see that in a moment. Will provide us with the first 4 sides. Now we need to do the last 4 sides, the sides we see when the rotation takes place. So we need to go to the 4 images that are on the reverse side. So if we go to the one attached to the top left, that's going to become image 6. This one will become image 7, this one 8, and finally our last one 9. Now we're ready to create our slide style, so we can close down the objects and animation screen, and make sure you save your project file just in case there's an error that we need to put right. But as you can see, I've got the image that we've been working on tucked hard on the left here, and I'm going to go to my slide style and create the style. Clicking on the slide style, tools, create a style. I'll just call the category, I think, 3D animation, the same as we've been calling most of this. And here I'll just call this 3D and create. Now you'll notice down here that it's telling us that we've got 9 main images. So far things are looking good. Let's create it, but of course the next thing we have to do is test it. So let's simulate the fact that we've come back to Pictures to Exe sometime in the future, completely different slideshow, completely different images. We know that the first slide that we select is going to form the background. I'm going to pick up one of these 2 here. I think I'll pick up this one. I'll just double click and it'll appear down there. The first 4 insets, I think I'll make those these 4, which are all frosty pictures. So I can either double click each one in turn, or I can just select them all and drag them down. Now we need 4 images for the other side of the first 4. We may as well stay with this one, this one, this one, and this one. Now we've got quite a batch of images there, but if I hold my shift key and select the first one, I'll select all of those in between. Now when we go to our slide style and we go to our 3D animation and we apply it, so far it's looking good, and you can see what the slide style does. It gathers up all those 9 images that we have planned to make this slide style, and it's put it into the one image. We need to test it, of course. Let me do that by putting the cursor on the blank at the start, and we can just run this through and watch it through the mini player. There's the first 4 images appearing on screen as we selected them. Background's gone soft as we planned. Spinning round to the 4 separate images. And when we get to the end, of course, those will fade out, and if we had another image in our slideshow, we would be gradually fading onto it now. As you can see by the spinning round of the screen, I've removed the slide style and the 9 images from the slide list, because we can apply the slide style to more images. To be able to demonstrate this, I did need to slip away and find 3 more images. I'm sorry they don't match the topic of the others, but they'll do for our demonstration. Because what I can do here is say, well, I'm going to have this one as number 1 of the first batch, because remember, slide style needs 9 images, so if I put 18 down there, it's going to run the slide style twice for us. So let's select this one, and then we'll choose this one as 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you'll notice I left this one because that one's going to be 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and hopefully I've got one more. Going back, this one is selected, so sliding back to the start, hold the Shift key, click the first, slide style, double click to apply. There we have it, looking good so far. Let's run this through to finish from the blank. If we'd created a slide style using just 2 images, but then we put 20 images into the slide list and applied the style to them all, then we're going to get 10 versions of what you can see here, but instead of using 9 images, we'd be using just 2. So there's the spinning round of the first set of animation and the fade out. This one remains on screen for a couple of seconds and then fades to the next, but of course we're into exactly the same animation now, but with a different set of images. We may as well let this run its course. As soon as they spin round, well, the rest we know. We're going to fade out very shortly, and this is the last image, so I'll stop at this point. If I don't have any images selected and I go to my slide style, what we'll see is a thumbnail representation of what we've created, but it's quite usual to see them numbered in this way because Pictures2Exe doesn't have a batch of images which we've highlighted in the slide list to be able to give us our thumbnails. We would need to have some images highlighted, and if we made an error and highlighted 6 instead of 9, then we'd see 6 reflected in there as real thumbnails, but we'd see 3 grey squares too, and that would alert us to the fact we may have made an error. Now what I'd like to do is to export this slide style so that you can test it in your software if you wish. Fairly quick and easy to do. Let's go to the tools, export the style. I need it on another computer to do what I do here, so I'm going to drop it from this computer onto a USB stick. There it is. I'll just call it, well, let's call it 3D animation, and maybe 9 images will just be an extra reminder. Let me click save to that, and we're done. I suppose there's one thing I should add before I bring this video to a close. Supposing we change our mind and we want to back away from what we've just done. Maybe not with both sets of 9 images, but let's just select the second set. If I go back to my slide style and I go to my basics, I can choose no style, and as you can see, it unpacks the 9 images just as we started with them.